Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den After Hours. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
So we got a couple of things lined up for you today. We're gonna play a couple of games. We get I've also got something else I got some big news I was gonna tell you here in a second also.
Yeah,
And do you know what our topic is today, Ian?
it is something about MTV.
MTV's impact on American culture, because I think it's really huge. So but
Huge. It's huge.
it's huge. That's what we got it lined up for you today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. But my big news, I want to tell you, I mean, it's not really big news because it probably is never going to happen, but Mandy applied to be on Family Feud.
The actual Family Feud show?
The actual Family Feud show, and we've got a callback for it. Like, we had to fill out all this paperwork, and we've got a Zoom meeting with, I don't know if it's the producers or whoever it is, but yeah, so we might be on Family Feud. They're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
yeah.
not.
It means I have to watch it, but okay.
I have been on TV once before.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I've been on TV a couple of times. But the first time was way back in 2003. Yeah, I think it was 2003. Because Mandy and I got married in 2002, so it was the year after. Mandy's aunt got married in Vegas, and she was on we were all on this. It was a reality show on GAC, I think it was the TV network. That was it. So it's one of the Great American Country, I think is what it stood for. It was one of those country music channels, but it was a reality show that they did about themed Vegas weddings, and we were all on there. So that was the first time I was on TV. And then I think there was a immigration protest in Nashville when I was working at the law firm in Nashville, and I was part of the protest. So that was the second time I was on TV. I didn't actually get interviewed, but I was like standing next to a guy that got interviewed. So I was
you're protesting against the immigrants?
No, we were protesting for immigration reform.
I know.
President Obama was in Nashville. He was having some speech down the road from the office I worked at, and or at the firm I worked at. So we marched down there with a crowd and protested in front of where he was doing his little speech. But yeah, it was for immigration reform, which ultimately failed. But
of course.
So yeah, they're kind of cool. Yeah, well, they had the whole gang of 8 that were working on immigration reform. It was 2013, I think, when all that was going on.
Right.
But yeah, there were nothing actually came of it. So
now they're eating our pets, Nick. They're eating our pets.
Yeah, stop. By the way, all like joking aside, there's been like bomb threats to like I don't know if it was the school down there or if it was like City Hall in Springfield, Ohio. There's like bomb threats because of that stupid fucking thing.
Yeah, I know.
Stop believing stupid fucking conspiracies.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I keep wanting to, because he pivoted to they're eating the geese and the ducks from the ponds. Yeah. And when he said that, I was like, well, what's the difference between all the rednecks who eat fucking squirrels?
Yeah. I've never eaten a squirrel before.
Me neither. I've never had a squirrel. I'm not a redneck. So.
Well, I shouldn't say it. Mandy. Well, I haven't, but Mandy's grandfather used to hunt squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy told me a story one time, like her and her sister like walked in the backyard of their grandparents' house, and I'm like strung up, hanging.
Mm-hmm. It was a different generation, though. He came from,
Oh yeah, they went through the depression and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, squirrel was like a delicacy for a lot of families back then.
Yeah.
Same with rabbit.
So yeah, that'd be kind of cool if Mandy and I, the whole family ends up on Family Feud. The thing is, Reese is like against it. Like she doesn't even want to fill out the fucking paperwork for it. She's like, I don't want to be on TV. I said, well, more than likely we're not going to be on TV, but like, I think we should at least go through it. to be honest, I'm sure if we go on there, I'll probably fucking like freeze up. Like I'll be that dumbass that like they're like,
Said something stupid.
yeah, they're like, oh, this like the lightning round at the end. I'll just stand there and like stare into the. I can't, because that's the one thing is like when you put under pressure, man, I can't think that fast, unfortunately.
Right.
But I don't know. It'd be interesting. But there was something else I want to talk to you about. There's been this like,
They're not my drugs, Nick. I swear.
what? Oh,
Your parents.
I learned it by watching you.
You're right. I probably would have.
Wait, what?
Drugs from you. I would have learned it.
Yeah. I was trying to be funny. Okay. Apparently it didn't go over really well, but so there was one thing I wanted to talk to you about. There's been this like on this like a growing trend, I guess I'll call it, of bands like releasing an album and then shortly after or within like the next year in some instances they'll release a deluxe version of the same album with additional tracks on there.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Because the way I look at it is, of course, I ask you a question and I kind of talk over you real quick, but I just let me say what I wanted to say real quick before I let you answer the question. Is because
I'll go take a nap.
Okay. Well, the way I look at it is like I understand why they do it. They're doing it to increase the sales numbers of the original album because it all counts the same.
Right.
If you release an album and then a year later release a bonus like a deluxe version with a couple of new tracks on there, it all counts the same. Right. But like Taylor Swift released Torture Poets Department, and then like I think within like a couple of weeks she released an anthology version of it with like an extra 20 tracks or some shit like that. Post Malone just released F1 Trillion, and then shortly after, within a week, really, it might have been at the same time he dropped the album, also dropped a long bed version of it where he like doubled the length of the album. And then Blink-182 just really announced, actually they just released the deluxe edition of One More Time, which has an extra 10 tracks. It's got 2 tracks were released. I guess Blink-182 has been really bad about this though. They released One More Time last year, and then like less than a week later they released another version of it with 2 additional tracks.
Okay.
So they got all the sales from the first sale, and then of course all the fans bought the fucking digital version because the digital version came with those 2 extra tracks. And then now they released a deluxe edition with 8 more tracks. So you're a total of 10 tracks that weren't on the original album. I don't know. I just want to know, because I think they should just not do that shit and just release a whole nother fucking album. But
in a perfect world, I would agree with you. I would say it probably would depend on the artist. For me, if it was Counting Crows who did that, I'm buying 3, whatever. They do 3 versions of it with more music, I'm buying 3 fucking versions.
Yeah.
Tull, same thing. Alice Cooper, my list of favorite artists. But like Metallica, if they did that, I don't know if I would. I'd try to find some way to maybe just, if I could digitally buy just those other tracks, I'd try to do something like that.
But what I'm like, it's also like all those songs are available on streaming services, so you don't really need to buy it,
right?
But it all counts because streaming numbers count towards all the Billboard numbers and stuff also. So you're getting all those sales from people buying the new versions of them, plus you're getting all the new streams from people listening to those new songs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess from a business perspective, it does make sense, but it can come off as double dipping and gouging, and
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like I guess the fairness would come in if they said, look, we're going to release the album on September 9th. We're releasing the album, but on November 10th, we're going to release a deluxe album and have more material. That would give the consumer a choice. And whether or not they want to buy this one, wait till the next one, or buy both.
Yeah.
If they're giving the consumer a choice, that's cool. I'm completely cool with that. But the fact that they're not saying anything about it, they're just releasing, here's our new album, and then a few months later, here's our new album plus 10 songs.
Yeah.
That's a little,
I guess Blink did like give fans a choice though, because if you want to buy a physical copy, the Taylor Swift album and the Post Malone album neither one of the extended editions are available on physical format.
Okay.
Blink is releasing One More Time Part 2 as on vinyl. Surprisingly enough, they're not releasing it on CD, which was I figured they definitely release it on CD because it's so much cheaper to make a CD than a record. But
right.
The vinyl version of it, you can either buy the deluxe edition, which has the 10 new tracks and the original album as a double LP, or you can buy just a single LP version of just those 10 tracks.
That's fair. To me,
so
that's
you've got an option. So if you don't want to buy, of course, I bought the 2 LP version because why wouldn't I? So,
right.
Because I've already got 7. I've already got 7 fucking copies of the album. Why not?
Why not 8?
8?
Right. See, for me, that's a much better way because it gives me the choice. Because obviously, I already have. If I'm not one of those people who needs 8 copies of an album, it gives me the option of saying, "Oh, well, I definitely want these other songs.
Yeah.
I can just buy those other songs. Perfect."
Yeah.
To me, and actually, it would probably increase sales a little bit potentially.
Yeah.
Because people would be like, "Fuck it, I'm not going to double dip. They're not going to double dip me." But well, that's new material. I can buy that. It's a new album. So the people that would piss off with the deluxe version, they might get back with that bonus disc.
Yeah. Because I've been trying to be better about buying multiple albums lately. Like, there's been a couple I've wanted to buy, but end up deciding to pass on. And I have bought a couple of duplicates this year, but I bought them knowing that all the other versions I have, I'm going to end up selling.
Right.
So, because I've been trying to be better. Now I just stick to only my core favorite couple of bands I'll buy duplicate albums of. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I've got 7 copies of One More Time. So it's not as many as I think 12 or 13 copies of Dark Side of the Moon that I've got, but
right. Well, now I have 2 vinyl copies. Well, 3 if you count the CD of Thick as a Brick 2, which before I didn't even think I'd have 1. 2 copies of Homo Eradicus, and I've got 3 copies of Walk into Light.
I want to know. So this is something I want you to do for me. Do me a favor and listen to the 1 LP version of Homo Eradicus and compare it to the 2 LP version and let me know what you think.
I intend to, because I'm curious about that myself.
Because I still might end up picking up the 2 LP version of it,
right?
Because it's still available. I'm pretty sure it was last time I looked on Discogs. It was.
Well, and I think I saw it at Dearborn Music not maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
Still, they had 1 copy in there from a year ago. Maybe I don't remember. It wasn't that long ago, but it could be 2 years maybe. So
speaking of the record store, I'll say I don't think I've been to the record store in 2 months. By the way.
Wow.
Which is a lot. That's a long time for me.
Yeah.
I've been really.
They probably thought you'd think you died.
I've been really busy with work and all the YouTube stuff. Keeps me super fucking busy, and it's a long drive for me, man.
Right.
It's not close. It's. I know if I'm going to go to the record store, it's going to be a 3 or 4 hour trip because it's 45 minutes each way. Plus, after I stop and eat something out there, and it takes a long time. It's a big commitment for me to make. So, unfortunately, and I said this for a long time, is I never buy. I haven't bought a lot of things through Amazon. I've been buying more stuff through Amazon lately, but
right. I know it sucks because I don't want to either, but
yeah, because that's my favorite. I love going to the record store and just flipping through stuff. But the last 2 times I went to the record store with other people, and I feel bad making them wait while I spend hours looking through records. But because I can literally spend hours,
right?
Especially at a store like Dearborn Music. I mean, they've got they got at least 20 or 30,000 albums in that store. So,
right.
And then all the CDs too. So, I can spend a big chunk of time in there. So, yeah, the last time I went to the record store was with Reese and one of her friends. So, it's dragging kids around through stores. It's not the funnest thing, but
they're hardly kids anymore. But it's even worse. They're teenagers.
Yeah, I mean they are.
They're
she'll be 18. She'll be 18 here. Well, actually, by the time when this video comes out, she'll already be 18. But
right. But still, teenagers. That's even worse than kids.
Yeah, so
Kids,
I've
you
been
can
buying.
you can tell them to shut up.
Yeah, so I've been buying stuff more stuff through Amazon. But yeah, let me know what you think of that Homo
Yeah,
eroticus.
that's definitely. I'm definitely curious about that because I don't really understand why they did it that way, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
know.
Especially like I said, when we talked about it, even when I did my review video for it, like there's a 2 LP version of it already. Like you don't need to make new. Like I'm sure they still have the plates and everything for it. Like just press that.
I mean, it was 10 years ago, so who knows?
I'm sure they still have the plates for it. I mean, they don't typically throw that stuff away. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
There,
know. I don't know how
I
that
do have a
works.
question about box sets, though. How do you store your box sets? Do you keep the albums inside the box, or do you display them outside of the box?
So, well, now this is only the second box set, multiple record box set I bought.
Oh, is
I
it?
haven't, yeah, because I just got the Ozzy one and this one.
Oh, okay.
So with the Ozzy one, I took all the albums out. I put them in plastic protected sleeves,
Yeah.
and I have them on the shelf with all the other Ozzy and Sabbath. I have all Ozzy and Sabbath together. Well, the Ozzy Sabbath and then Ozzy together. And then I have a separate section for all the post Ozzy Sabbath stuff. This one I would probably do the same thing, but I'm not going to do it until I get more sleeves.
Yeah.
So I don't want them. I think the fact that they're not gatefold sucks, but the print looks really good. You know, they
Yeah.
look good.
They did a good job with the artwork on the albums. I'm just not. I said it in my review video. I think it's dumb that those
Are
double
gatefold,
albums weren't gatefolds,
right?
but
I
especially
agree.
for a
I agree.
box set that's running $400.
Right.
Because most box sets in that price range that they've got a better presentation to them. But yeah, I don't know. Because I'm kind of like some box sets I do and some I don't. Like the because I've got quite a few box sets, but like the Green Day Dookie, the Nimrod box set, I didn't take any of those out. Those are all in
Well, those are single.
box.
That's a single album. Like if it was like my single album, like that's I guess that's. So I've got
But
the
there's
Swagger box set,
yeah.
and I've got the Rock Flute box set. I've got the Zealot Gene box set. I mean, they're not really, they're deluxe editions, but they're not really box sets. But those obviously are, I keep those as they are because they're single albums. But if it's multiple albums, especially ones that, because the way I organize like my Tull stuff, I have the Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull stuff together in chronological order. So
Yeah.
I couldn't put that box set up there by itself in my mind because it would be out of order. You know, because, you know, Walking the Light came out in '83. That jump all the way to '95. There's
Yeah.
five Tull albums in between there. So
Well, with the Dookie and Nimrod box sets, like the Dookie box set, I think there's 5 albums because there's the standard album, there's a Woodstock album in there, there's a demos album, and then there's 2 live albums. So I mean, it's not just like one album, but
I guess, yeah.
I thought about pulling them all out and then displaying them, but like the Queen discography box set, I pulled all those out. Those are all in because I put all my records in
Right.
dual pocket sleeves. I did the same thing with the Rolling Stones box set. I pulled all those out. There's a couple other ones that I've done that too, but I haven't done it with any like the Black Sabbath box sets. I haven't done it with the Green Day box sets.
Right.
I don't know.
Let's see.
I did it.
The live Ozzies I kept in the box.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because the live albums, I mean, I'm rarely going to listen to them. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's really only Tribute and Speak of the Devil are the best live Ozzy albums. So
yeah, Tribute's a fantastic live album.
Oh yeah, I used to listen to that all the time on cassette.
Yeah, I mean, Live and Loud is still my favorite, but
yeah. See, I was never terribly impressed with Live and Loud. I always thought Tribute was better, but
yeah,
I
think they missed opportunity. Was it last year that had its 30th anniversary?
I think so.
25th anniversary. 25th anniversary last year, right? No, it was 30th.
It was 30th, yeah.
Yeah. Last year was the 30th anniversary. I think they should have done they should have reissued it with the metal grill that came on the CD version of it. I think that's how they should have done the vinyl. And like they could have charged probably $70, 80. Actually, it's a 4 LP set, so it's probably $100 I think it was sold just fine.
Yeah,
But
probably.
I think they missed the opportunity because there's a lot of people that don't have the box set that want Live and Loud. I mean, there's a demand for it, but
Right.
you know, I don't know. I don't know how we got off on any of that, but that's right. I just want to know how you stored your box sets.
Yeah.
I don't know because when I get the American Idiot box set when that drops here, was it October?
October.
I think
Yeah.
when October 25th, I think it comes out. When I get that box set, I don't know. I might pull them all out, but there's a lot of albums, and it's I don't know. I mean, I've got a shitload of sleeves. Sleeves that aren't a problem for me because there was Vinyl Storage Solutions earlier this year had like a big like 33% off sale or something like that. So I'm pretty stocked up on sleeves, so I can pull them all out and do it. But I don't know. It just seems like it doesn't seem all that necessary because I don't listen. I won't listen to live albums from those box sets very often.
Right.
But at least with the Dookie one, I listen to not a lot, but I'll listen to the Woodstock album quite a bit. I end up selling the. Hey, look at that! I sold a duplicate. I actually had because I had the RSD record store day version of the Green Day Woodstock album,
right. Which
I
I
sold.
Have too.
Yeah, I just sold that recently because I got it in the box set. So there's
right.
I don't need to have 2 copies of that, even though I've got I think 3 copies of Dookie. So
right.
Actually, no, I take that back. I'm only down to 2 versions of Dookie because I sold my duplicate of that also. But,
Did you? Yeah, I don't have any duplicates of Green Day at all. So
yeah.
And I'm not going to buy the CD set. I'm going to buy the CD set of the American Idiot.
Yeah.
Right by the set.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on what to get. I decided to just get the vinyl box set because I got it at a smoking fucking deal.
Right.
But I don't know because it's expensive. $200 for. I mean, I get it. There's a lot in it, but it's still a lot to drop on.
Yeah, I think the
box
CD
set.
sets are like $60 or $70.
Yes, I think it's $70.
Yeah, that's definitely more of my price range for
yeah, which I've got.
Especially after spending $340 on the Cian Anderson set.
Yeah, because I've got the CD version of the Dookie and the Nimrod box sets and vinyl versions of both of those also. Mm-hmm. But I bought the CD version of the Dookie box set because I wanted to have the Woodstock performance on CD. And the CD version of that box set was like $35, so it wasn't bad. So
yeah.
But we didn't come here to talk about box sets or any of that stuff. We came here to talk about MTV. So I will say that did you catch any of the Video Music Awards this year? I
don't think I would know any of the artists who were even.
Oh, sure you would. I mean, the show opened with Eminem. I mean, there's still people that have been musicians for the last 25 plus years that are part of the show. I wasn't and I typically watch it definitely watched it the last like at least 7 or 8 years because I didn't watch it there for a while. I lost interest in it, but I've been kind of impressed with them the last few years. This year's I thought really sucked. Eminem's performance was fantastic. Katy Perry got the Video Vanguard Award, which her performance was really good. But outside of that, I didn't think there was really all that too many memorable moments of the show. And and this year there were more than the usual amount of artists that I didn't know who they were. So
right.
And I feel like I'm kind of up to date on newer music, but I mean, I knew who some of them, I knew who most of them were, but there's a lot of them I hadn't listened to any of their music. So
right. Well, I just think I don't know, Video Music Awards. I mean, artists still produce videos all the time. They're on YouTube though. They're not on MTV. They're not playing them on MTV.
I mean, some of them are on MTV, but
I've never seen MTV.
MTV still does have a video channel or a music video channel, or they I don't know if they play any new stuff on there, but there is MTV Classic. So there is they do show videos.
Right, but that's not the same thing. That's not what I'm talking. It's like
no. That's the whole thing. Is like when MTV premiered, like it really kind of revolutionized music.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of bring us into the topic that we're supposed to talk about. Music videos were they existed before MTV. They existed before
they were called
the early
promotional
80s.
videos.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
go back to the early 70s. There's Alice Cooper did a couple promotional videos.
I mean, I think there were, yeah, I mean, you can go back to the
Black
60s with
Sabbath
them.
did. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Because I mean, technically, the Beatles movies were promotional videos.
Yeah.
More or less. So.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just MTV was just a vehicle to promote, all those new artists that were, because there wasn't a good way to promote those videos. Yeah, like I said, they're promotional videos, but like they were hard to find before MTV. There wasn't like
Right.
one source you could go to. There
Oh
wasn't a
no.
YouTube out there that you can go
No,
look up
generally
all that stuff
speaking,
on.
you would have to. They would only be released on like. How were they released?
That's a good fucking question because I don't know.
I mean, obviously, some of them were released in theaters, like the Beatles stuff, but
yeah,
some of those other ones, I think a lot of times they would come. They would be used on like specific music shows, like you know, uh, like Soul Train kind of a thing, but not Soul Train. But
yeah,
those kind of shows, like Top of the Pops in the UK, they might have
yeah,
shown them on that. That kind of stuff.
yeah.
But
And I mean, and I think a lot of those were probably like promotional videos for like that they use for like tours and stuff like that also.
true.
Yeah. But yeah, MTV came around and like, completely changed music because they became for a long time MTV was the most powerful, vehicle in music.
Oh yeah.
MTV could make or break careers. And I think there was a lot of times there where labels used or utilized MTV to push certain artists out in the mainstream and
That shouldn't have
make
been
them
out there.
stars. MTV were king. I mean, they were kingmakers,
Right.
essentially.
Like you're not talking about Milli Vanilli, are you? That would be an example of those situations.
I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, but it was, especially like the early years when they would do like the first couple of years where they did the VMAs and all that stuff. Like you can go back and watch those shows. I mean, there's so many iconic moments that were really ingrained in the culture of America.
Right. Well, it's like you said. I mean, MTV was something that kids didn't turn the radio on when they got home. They turned the TV on, but they would turn on MTV.
Yeah.
That generation wasn't doing it. They might come home and put a record on or whatever. They would just have stuff on in the background while they were talking on the phone with their friends.
Yeah.
Back when you had to sit near the phone because of the cord and all that. Those kind of situations led to, or it was just the perfect storm for it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. MTV also really became a really popular vehicle. They were really influential in like fashion and stuff like that too. Not necessarily because of the channel itself, but the videos that it promoted.
Right.
Really changed fashion, especially in the 80s, early 90s. I mean, hell, you look at grunge. Like, look at the way grunge music transformed fashion was really through those videos.
Right. Oh yeah, because like you said, no one could see it before. You'd see it maybe on an album cover, but even the album covers are going to be like, no one's walking around like David Bowie on Aladdin Sane.
Yeah.
But if they saw a David Bowie music video where he's doesn't have makeup on, but he's wearing a certain type of outfit, it's a lot easier to emulate that in public.
Yeah. I think the biggest way the MTV really changed, probably not just American culture, but culture across the world, is the real world. The invention of reality TV.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing.
Well, I'm not saying it is. Like, I fucking hate reality TV.
Yeah.
Even though I've been, like I said earlier, I've been part of reality TV once, but it's. I mean, I guess technically game shows are reality TV, but like the real world really altered TV in the mainstream.
It did. I try to block all that out from my fond memories of MTV. I try to stick with like the the music and what it did. Say from its inception, 81 to say like '95. I know
Yeah.
Real World came out around that time, but
Well,
the only times is
Real World came out like 92, 93.
right, but it wasn't like it hadn't developed into the thing that what we would become known as reality TV yet.
Yeah.
But there was still, music was still the primary focus of MTV. That's what I like to remember, fondly.
Well, I mean, music was still the primary thing on MTV really
For a
until
long
like
time. I know, but
the early to mid part of the 2000s is really
but
when
by
it
like
changed.
'95, I was working. I was still going to school. I wasn't watching TV,
Yeah.
so I didn't really, what little MTV I got was fleeting at best. So by the time I was in a position to go back to it, it wasn't music anymore. Really,
Yeah. I
very
think I
little.
watched Real World from the first season until probably like 2002, 2003. So like the first probably like 10
I
seasons
remember
I
I watched
watched.
season 9 with you and Mandy. I think it was
Yeah.
season 9. It was New Orleans. I think New Orleans was season 9.
Yeah, I think it was.
So whatever season that was, I watched that with you guys.
But like even like I stopped watching the Real World when I think it was like Real World Las Vegas, where it ended up being like, I don't know, it ended up being just like super fucking trashy. I don't know. I felt like it changed. Like it was
What,
just,
reality TV being trashy?
oh,
I
I
don't
know, I
believe
know,
it.
I know, I know.
I don't
It
believe
was
it, Nick.
like over the fucking top. It seemed like, and I was like, that's when I was just over it. You know,
It's
I was
probably,
also
if you were to go back and watch it, it'd probably seem tame by today's standards.
probably, probably, but
But
it was. I think from there, that's when MTV really became like uh reality TV central.
right.
Because there for like a decade, it seemed like that's all they had on there. I mean, really, I guess
It's still
still
all I have.
today.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, if we're looking at its influence on the world, yes, you gotta figure that in. I prefer to look at how it influenced music and it influenced our generation of music consumers,
Yeah,
and even arguably a little bit of our parents' generation too. Because our parents were late boomers, so they were still when MTV started, they were in their early 20s.
yeah,
So um, there was still a bit of a crossover there where they were still kind of like, oh, Van Halen. I know Van Halen. They're showing those old promotional videos from Sabbath and Alice and stuff. They're still showing
yeah.
that stuff. So, I mean, if my parents they watched MTV, so it's like it kind of crossed that generational line a little bit.
There was also, MTV really kind of showed or kind of created I guess, the commercialization, I guess, of music. Because it was really through like advertising, they really brought this whole kind of different aspect into music. And it became a commodity, in I'd say at least by the mid to late 80s. That really wasn't there before, I don't think. It was, I think labels started looking at music differently for sure. I guess, kind of look at it this way. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, but like if you're a music label in the 70s, the music is what's important, right? And then,
No, the album sales. They really didn't care about
well,
the music.
yeah, I know, but the music is what pushes the album sales.
Right.
And then look a decade later, by like the late 80s, what's the most important thing to the label?
The video.
Outside of the monetary value of it.
Right.
It's the look. It's how do these
Right.
people look on stage, how they look on camera. That's how you got Milli Vanilli. It wasn't it wasn't the fact that they couldn't fucking sing. It was they looked good on camera, so that's why they replaced the actual singers of those songs.
Right.
So that's really kind of helped how it like fundamentally changed the music industry overall. I mean,
didn't that happen to CNC Music Factory too? Like
I don't know if it was
the original singers were not in the videos. It wasn't that they were lip syncing, but they intentionally left specifically the female artists off of the videos, out of the videos,
because they didn't fit an image.
Because they definitely didn't fit an image. Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure it was CNC Music Factory.
Yeah.
But so I guess that was another huge way that MTV really influenced culture and the music industry overall.
That's why you could look at old artists like bands from like the late 60s and early 70s, and you go, those are some ugly fuckers.
Yeah.
And then you look at bands from like the 2000s, and they're like, flowing hair and perfectly trimmed beards, and
it's very different.
It still is.
If you were,
his image is even more. It's even more so now with like things like TikTok and everything.
I mean, look at someone like Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan looks like a shoe, like he was never a good looking guy. Like,
yeah, he sounds like one too.
I guess it's true. But if Bob Dylan came out today, would he be as successful as he was? Probably not.
No, I don't. I would say that the vast majority of artists from back in the day probably would.
Yeah.
By today's standards. So. Yeah.
Well, MTV also really helped like define generations. Also, like our generation, I feel like is defined by MTV.
Yeah,
all those iconic moments.
We're the MTV generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's what we've been called.
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad for younger generations who
don't have that.
That don't, and I guess actually it's not really. It's probably just my kids' generation, because kind of the generation that came after us grew up with MTV. Also, they were like they were like the TRL. We were like the early stage MTV, and then came like the TRL era, that they grew up with, and then my kids
had nothing.
But
to be fair, they have YouTube, and there isn't much they can't find if they want to look for it. The thing is that you don't get that random, wow, what's this? I never heard this song before. I've never seen these guys before.
Yeah.
You don't get that, but at the very least they can find it, and artists are still making videos.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of that, at least in the 90s, though. Like on certain programs, like I think Beavis and Butthead did a great job showcasing young up and coming bands.
But used to make fun of the older ones, though. So,
yeah.
But still, it's showing people stuff.
I mean, Rob Zombie. That's how Rob Zombie got famous, was off of Beavis and Butthead. That's how White Zombie got their kind of big start. I think they just released their first album, released a music video. It was showcased on Beavis and Butthead, and then within a couple of weeks, it had blown up. The song had blown up.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like a lot of those, I mean, maybe on like 120 minutes and things like that, you'd get some new stuff. But I feel like a vast majority of the stuff they showed on MTV was all the super popular stuff that you would see on the Hot 100.
You see during the day maybe, but if you watch it late at night or on weekends, sometimes you'd see shit you wouldn't see. You hadn't seen before. So
there was a music channel. I don't think it was called Fuse. There was a different kind of music channel in the late 90s. It was like an MTV kind of knockoff, but that's all they did.
Fuse and VH1 were the only three that I was familiar with. Now there's Axis or Axis.
Maybe it was Fuse, but like I found so many great bands off of those. Yeah. Like that's how I found MXPX. That's how I found Spring Hill Jack, who's like right over my shoulder right there.
Yeah, Fuse played a lot more of the lesser known stuff. For sure.
I would say they played more of like the Warped Tour bands kind of music.
Well, they did it very similarly to MTV did. They had like their hip hop hours, and they had their rock hours and their metal, and they mixed it up. But it was you wouldn't see like Snoop Dogg on their hip hop stuff. You'd see artists that you maybe hadn't heard of.
Yeah, up and coming artists. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same with the rock and the punk and the metal and stuff like that. So, Headbangers Ball was a good one for me in the 80s.
They were good about showcasing like young metal bands stuff. For sure.
If it wasn't for Headbangers Ball, I never would have seen the music video to One by Metallica.
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw it.
You probably would have, because they're like, I mean, I think it's where
originally
it started getting heavy rotation there, but like after that, it really broke into the mainstream on MTV.
Right. But I saw also, I never would have seen King Diamond videos.
No.
Which I did see on Headbangers Ball.
No.
They're not. Some of them aren't great, but the Welcome Home is was one of his big famous tracks, and I saw it first time on MTV. Headbangers Ball.
Yeah. So I mean, there was, I mean, you're right. There were some younger bands on there, but I felt like a majority of it was like your standard Hot 100 stuff.
Right.
I think it
Oh
was
yeah, I mean, just like anything else. I mean, they're always going to push what's popular. All that. You know, Madonna's always going to get.
Because MTV cared about selling advertising is what they cared about, and the more people they could get to watch. I think that's really how they started Real World. It was just they knew people would watch it, and it was a easy way that they didn't have to worry about paying script writers, nothing like that, because MTV had a lot of original shows also.
Right.
You know, the original cartoons and, you know,
mostly
Beavis and Butthead. I think they were all. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. They weren't all. There was like remote control. There was game shows, stuff like that.
Yeah. But those are kind of on the same level as reality TV. They're relatively cheap to make.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing with Real World. It was cheap to make, and people would watch it. So quickly, MTV turned into, you know, over like a 10, 12-year period, it turned into reality TV Central.
Right.
To the point where that's all you've got, unless if you turn on MTV, that's all you're going to get is that. Like, what's that TV show where it's like just videos of people hurting themselves?
There's a TV show like that?
Yeah. It's shit. I gotta look it up now. It's gonna bother me.
I mean, I just watch TikTok videos and I get to see that sometimes.
That's pretty much all it is. Ridiculousness. That's what it is. It's like
never heard of it.
Oh yeah,
I don't watch MTV anymore.
Rob Dietrich. Yeah, I swear, like you turn on MTV and it's like there's like 7-hour blocks where it's nothing but ridiculousness on there. But yeah, that's all it is him just like showing videos of people hurting themselves and just doing stupid shit that they find on the internet.
Right. Which is stuff people have already seen on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat.
Well, I mean, when the show first started, it was pretty cool because you didn't have all that stuff, you know.
I guess. No thanks. I restrict that kind of viewing entertainment to when I'm shitting or just have nothing else to do for that particular moment of time.
It's just something you do with like mindless scrolling.
Yeah.
But something else that MTV really kind of popularized was, I shouldn't say that because it existed before. They just changed it when they started doing Cribs, MTV Cribs. Of course, you had like Lifestyles, The Rich and Famous before and stuff like that. But MTV Cribs was a gigantic vehicle also. And everyone used to watch that. And then come to find out like years later that like most of those people didn't even own those fucking houses. They were all staged. Really? Yeah.
I maybe caught like bits and pieces when, if it was on, I like going through MTV. Oh, no music videos. I'm moving on. That kind of thing. I never actually watched an entire episode of Cribs.
No? Never I mean, like, I remember like Ozzy was like everyone did them. Like all the big artists had episodes.
I watched the Osbournes when it was on.
Yeah.
But I never watched Cribs.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another big thing that they did. I mean, obviously, yeah, with the Osbournes, that was another big reality show that they did. Like I said, I think that's really, like, if you want to talk about all the different ways that MTV impacted culture, I think the biggest one is reality TV, you know, unfortunately, because I said, I think reality TV is like the downfall of Western civilization.
Well, and I totally agree with you. It's very rare that we totally agree on anything.
Yeah, but it's not very rare. It's not a common thing.
No, I mean it's probably not. It's not super rare, but it's rare enough. That's why, like I said, I like to, because you can pinpoint specific times in MTV's history where it was influential for that time period.
Yeah,
I just happen to stick with the time period that it was most influential and important to me.
Yeah,
and it was to the world too, but just how it affected the world going forward after that doesn't. I try not to think about it because I don't. So,
but I don't know. I
guess it's kind of like if you have a kid. If you got this cute little baby, they're adorable, they're poopy, but they're adorable. They grow to, they become toddlers and they're funny and they're goofy. They become, adolescents and they're, not so bad, but they're all right. Then they're teenagers and they're monsters, and then they're adults and they get better.
Yeah.
But what happens when all that stages go, but when they hit adulthood, they become a serial killer? Yeah. That's how I feel about MTV. MTV became a serial killer.
That's a very interesting analogy there, Ian.
Yeah. It's like the child, because essentially I grew up with MTV. I mean, '81, I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean, essentially, for my entire childhood, I was watching MTV. So it grew up with me,
Yeah.
and you know, I look back now, it's like, well, MTV was great, but they turned out to be a serial killer.
I don't think we got MTV until probably like 85, 85, maybe 80, 85, maybe 86. I think
It
is when
really
we got like
depended.
cable, because
Yeah,
it was only on cable. But
right. So it fluctuated for us early on. Like when my dad was working, we had MTV. When he got laid off, we didn't have MTV.
yeah,
And I don't think I had it like consistently until, like you said, maybe '85. But I remember watching uh, music videos when I was really little,
yeah,
like 3, 4 years old, and yeah. So I remember when they premiered "Jump" by Van Halen in '84. I was
yeah.
6. You know, I remember when that premiered. So
And that was the other thing that I kind of forgot all about, was they would have these like gigantic video premieres,
right,
especially in like the middle to late '90s. Like they would have like several day lead ups
right.
to these premieres.
And they did it way more in the '90s, but they did do it quite a few times in the '80s. Like I can
Yeah,
remember, they even did it for "Lap of Luxury" by Jethro Tull.
really.
Yeah,
That's
I know. Well, it was Jethro Tull, so they were
yeah.
at the time they were just like, "Oh, this would be."
It was no, Ian. It was Grammy Award winning Jethro Tull.
Not yet, because this was '84.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't win till '89. So
Yeah.
so.
They
And to be fair,
they robbed Metallica.
Ian Anderson, well, the Academy robbed Metallica.
Yeah.
Jethro Tull did. Ian Anderson did a guest VJ spot on MTV back in '87.
Did he?
Yeah, he was the man on the street. He go and interview people in
I'm
New
sure
York
those
City.
were great interviews.
Well, he most of the time he go, have you ever heard of Jethro Tull? And they're like, who? He did a lot of that.
Because I don't know. I don't see him as a great interviewer.
No, he did all right. He did all right job.
He's a little dry.
One of the things I liked about him. But yes, he wasn't. He did a good job with that. I would not ask him to do that now, because you think he was dry before.
He's the worst.
Oh,
now.
he's very dry.
It's been a couple of years since I've seen him give an interview, but it was.
Well, so you know the show Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
His son-in-law was on the show, and he was the main star of the show for the first several seasons.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So when what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who plays Daryl Dixon has a show where it's a reality show where he goes and travels across the country on his motorcycle, and he goes to different places and stuff. Well, one of the other guys from, I think they could do it together. I don't know if they do it together or if he just was on that show, but they went and visited Andrew Lincoln, who's Ian Anderson's son-in-law, at Ian Anderson's estate, because Ian Anderson's a big dirt biker. He's been riding dirt bikes since he was, since the late '70s. So they went out, and the one guy, I can't fucking remember his name. He played Bruce Wayne's dad in Batman v Superman. And but he's in The Walking Dead. But he's like, oh, I'm sure you had tons of those hotel stories like Led Zeppelin. He's like, I'm like, I don't think you understand what kind of a rock star or a rock person Ian Anderson is.
Yeah. So, not quite like that.
But they went out and they drove around his estate on bikes and stuff. Ian Anderson went out with him for a while.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's definitely not he's not someone you take to a party if you want socialization.
Speaking of hotels, and I don't know why this popped into my head. I was reading
an article. Talking about hotels?
No, you just mentioned hotels in your story. You weren't really talking about it, but you just mentioned smashing hotel rooms and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
But maybe you think of this story. I was reading an article. I think it was an article. Maybe it was a YouTube video I was watching not too long ago, where they were talking about Adam West, and I didn't realize some of the shit he was doing back in the day. They said that he would have these him and the guy that played the Riddler would go to these crazy orgies all the time, and it was
Frank Gorshin, really?
What's that?
Frank Gorshin, he was the Riddler.
Yeah, they would go to orgies, and he would have like Adam West, when he walk off the set, it would have like a line of women down the waiting for him at the door, and he would just invite them all in. And
well, it was kind of that Batman show was kind of like being the Monkees or the Beatles, really. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised about Frank Gorshin.
I was surprised when I shouldn't have been, but I was surprised when I found out about that. It was like,
well, I guess it's
15
probably
to 20 women a day or some shit like that.
Wow, that's some stamina.
That sounds like that's a lot of unsatisfied women there.
Right. Well, and I would imagine it's probably a good thing that he's dead, because I wouldn't imagine that there wasn't some problematic stuff going on.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And we've talked about that with like music in the 70s. Everyone talks about all these rock icons, but then they forget that they were like seducing 14 and 15-year-old girls at one point in their careers, or marrying them. There's several of them that married them also.
First emancipating them from their parents,
yes,
taking them in as their guardian, and then marrying.
And then marrying them.
Yeah.
Good
old Steven Tyler.
Well, it's teachers that are grooming people nowadays, right?
Right. Oh, the drag queens. The drag
queens, yeah.
Reading stories to kids. Slippery slope.
Yep. And then the drag queens shoot places up, right? It's all these. Yeah, they don't. That was the whole point. That was the whole point. Drag queens aren't shooting people.
No. Rednecks are.
Yeah. Or crazy kids, basically.
Just crazy kids, yeah. So.
I will say that, Ian, we were supposed to have, I forgot we were going to play a couple of games, and I completely glossed over. We just went right into the topic for once, but I
know
we'll play them next time. I still have them queued up, so I know. Me stumping you on the channel. You're not.
Yeah, it's not hard to do. Stumping me is not hard to do.
Some of them are hard, especially going back and doing those Billboard 200s from
before we were born,
70s. They're I would say even going into the 80s, a lot of them are hard to come up with. Because
what was the first one we did? Because I actually did all right on that one.
78. Because I was surprised because you got Grease right off the top.
Right. But I barely was alive.
Yeah.
I was born in March, so
yeah.
So definitely wasn't old enough to be paying attention to the Billboard 200.
Yeah, a lot of
6-month-old age. Yeah, what's in the Billboard 200 this week?
I will say you go through the Billboard 200 pretty much any week, since it started 63. I think it was technically the Billboard 200 started in 1992. Prior to that, it was the top pop albums, I think is what it was called. It was the same thing. It just went by a different name, and that started I think 62 or 63. I think it was the early 60s that started. I might be off by a few years, but it's been around for a long fucking time. So
longer than us, so that's good. Yeah. So we're not as old as that.
When you go through those 200 albums, a lot of weeks there's a vast majority of them that you're like, what the fuck is this?
Right. Because it was out for 1 week and then gone.
Yeah. No, there's even stuff that have been on there for multiple weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I've never even heard of this before.
Right.
Or you get that the Chanting Monks albums or something like that. That was popular.
Dude, I'm telling you, that shit was huge back then. I mean, everywhere you went, there had you went into fucking grocery stores. They had chant albums. They weren't the same ones, but they were so big that they were duplicating that.
That's hilarious.
They'd have the CDs that had babbling brook sounds, and then the chants, monk chants.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. You have those I forgot about those Time Life commercials that have
that
babbling brook. CDs, collections you could buy and things like that.
Sounds of Nature or something like that. Yeah. Well, they usually have the chant, a version of the chant album in there. Stuff too. So.
I think when I first started dating Mandy, she had one of those CDs that she would just play to help her sleep. They have nature sounds and things like that.
Wasn't her alarm bird chirping?
It might have been. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you know my wife's alarm? I'm just joking. We lived together for several years.
I was in the room next to you, so I couldn't remember if it was her or not. I just remember somebody had an alarm.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I could never wake up to that.
And you know I couldn't because
No, you're the worst person on earth to fucking wake up.
not working nights. I mean, there's a lot of times I don't even have my alarm set.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was she had those stupid chirping birds. Yeah, I remember when we first moved into the apartment, like no one fucking cares about any of this that's watching this. But when we first moved into the apartment, there was like the apartment we lived in had this big tree outside the window. So like I'd hear birds chirping. I'm thinking it's coming from outside. I would never think it's an alarm clock. But
right.
I don't know. You got anything else you want to add about MTV or life in general?
No, MTV was great up until about the late '90s, and then it died.
I would say early 2000s. Even like when American Idiot came out in 2004, MTV was huge still.
Honestly, I wouldn't know. I watched the Jesus Suburbia video, which is like 20 minutes long, on YouTube when that came out. So,
well, YouTube wasn't out yet, but
whatever. I watched it online.
Yeah, there was they had
that on their website.
They sold it in the there was a DVD that they sold with all their was that on their video collection that they sold?
Because that was super hits.
International super hits. Yeah.
That was like 97 when that came out.
I don't remember what year it was, but
no, because it was 90. It may have been 2000 because they had
it was after Warning came out because they had songs off of Warning on there, so it was between Warning and American Idiot.
Right, but yeah, it was definitely before American Idiot.
Well, any questions or comments, you can always email us at thevinyldenchannel@gmail.com. For watching this on YouTube,
hey, do your thumbs.
Give us a thumbs up. There we go. Or give us 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Stupid fucking effects.
I don't have them, so.
What about the thumbs down? There you go. But yeah, do all that. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about MTV and its cultural impact. But that's all we got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.